would the 2010 Formula One season look like if the in-real-life top 5, so Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button, were not there? Yep, finally got some for 2010. I was looking back through old comments and I found this suggestion. So let's have a look. We kick off in Bahrain for the season opener, where for the first and only time they use the endurance layout, and it's all smiles for the singular Ferrari of Felipe Massa, who starts his season off the exact right way by claiming pole position and the race victory for a brilliant opening to the season for him. He's finishing ahead of Nico Rosberg in second place in his debut for Mercedes, as Mercedes make their debut back for the first time since the mid-50s. And then in third place, it is the GOAT himself, Michael Schumacher, making a return to the podium in his first race back after being out for a few years after his first retirement. He's back and he's on the podium. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. That is indeed a driver from one of the bottom 3 teams finishing in 10th place. A mixed condition race in Australia is up next for the second race of the season. Felipe Massa continues his form for round 1 by taking pole position for round 2. But come race day, the race, it ends up not quite working out his way. Well, I say not quite working out his way. He does still finish in second place, but he's beaten to the checkered flag by Robert Kubica for Renault, getting on the board for his first race win and podium of the season, ahead of the Brazilian driver, who's finishing ahead of Nico Rosberg, making it 2 podiums in a row to start off a good season for Mercedes, or well, rather to start Mercedes off on a good start. It's up to Malaysia for round 3. Mercedes have had a decent start to their season. They've had 3 podiums in the first 2 races, and they're now going to be getting their first pole position on the board. Nico Rosberg claiming his first ever pole position in Formula 1 this time out, and he turns it into a very first race victory for him on the podium in every single race so far this season. Mercedes really starting off their comeback very, very strongly. He's finishing ahead of Robert Kubica in second place, and then Adrian Sutil for Force India getting on the podium. China is where we're heading after the circuit where in 2012 Nico Rosberg actually got his first ever race victory. And well, this weekend here is as good as the one he had in 2012, because he takes a hat-trick, race victory, fastest lap, and from pole position to boot. He has had such a great start to this season. A second, a third, and now 2 wins in a row, 2 poles in a row. He's once again ahead of Robert Kubica, and then in third place is Vitaly Petrov, finally getting some points on the board this season. It's time now to start the European races as we head on over to the Spanish Grand Prix, the traditional race that a lot of people bring a shit ton of upgrades to. Pole position in qualifying is going the way of the man who took his first race victory for Ferrari at this very circuit in 1996. It is Michael Schumacher getting pole position that he does not let go of on race day. He holds on to the P1 place, and much like he did in 1996 for Ferrari, he takes his first race victory for Mercedes this time out, ahead of Felipe Massa, his former teammate, finishing in second place, while third place is going the way of Adrian Sutil once again. But the GOAT himself, Michael Schumacher, is getting race win number 92 on the board. He'll be looking to try and notch up another race win on the streets of Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix, a race where track position is everything, because it's not easy to attack here. And Robert Kubica puts himself in the absolute best position by claiming pole position, and that pole position, given his Monaco, turns into a race victory because, you know, as I said, not easy to overtake. He is not overtaken. He takes the race victory with the fastest lap as well. Not that you get points for fastest lap, that is. Bear in mind we're back onto the current points format, minus a point for fastest lap. That didn't come until 2019. Anyway, second place is once again Felipe Massa, while third is Nico Rosberg after he wasn't back on the podium after he wasn't on the podium for the first time last time out in Spain. 6 races into the season, let's see how the championship is all shaping up. It's very close up at the top in these early stages. 6 races in, Robert Kubica is leading the way on 106 points, and there's just a 3-point gap back to Felipe Massa on 103 points, and then a further 3 back to 100 points for Nico Rosberg. So it's very close at the moment. 6 points separate in the top 3. You can see how close it is on the line graph. Very, very close. They're actually, Massa and Rosberg were tied on points after the last race. We'll have to see how this championship battle works itself out. 4th place is currently going the way of Michael Schumacher on 62 points, while 5th place is where you're going to find Adrian Sutil. I was going to say Antonio Giovinazzi. Adrian Sutil is on 56 points in 5th place. 40 points go the way of Ruben Barrichello in 6th place, while 7th place you're going to find Antonio Liuzzi, who is on 35 points. 8th place is 1 point further back from that, is Jaime Alguersuari for the Toro Rosso team on 34 points. And then rounding off the top 10, you have Vitaly Petrov on 23 points, and then Sebastian Buemi on 14. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes have an easy lead right now of 162 points to Renault on 129. 103 points are going the way of Ferrari, the sole Ferrari, while the top 5 is rounded up by Force India on 91 points, and then Williams on 51. 6 points is only a 3-point gap back to them on 48 points, and that's Toro Rosso, while there's a massive gap back to the bottom team. Sauber are in 7th on 8 points, while then you have in 8th place Lotus on 5 points. Lotus that then later became Team Lotus and then Caterham. That team, not the Lotus that was Renault. Anyway, you know the bottom teams. And then Hispania are in 9th on 3 points, and then 2 points going the way of Virgin. Yes, all 3 of the bottom small teams that couldn't score a point to save themselves in the early stages of this season, of them being in Formula 1 and to save themselves, they've actually all scored. We head on over to Turkey now, a circuit where Felipe Massa has historically gone rather well at. He did take his first pole and win here, after all. However, the spoils are gonna go the way of Michael Schumacher this time out, as he claims pole position and race victory this time out. Much like he did in Barcelona, he has a pretty easy weekend, but winning from pole position ahead of his teammate Nico Rosberg for a Mercedes 1-2, with Robert Kubica rounding off the podium. Mercedes really are having an amazing comeback into Formula 1. They probably wish their comeback was actually this good. But I mean, when you take 5 drivers out of it, what else can you expect? It's time to pump the brakes on the European season for a period moment as we take a hop, skip and a jump over to Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix, where we see Force India claiming pole position at the hands of Vitantonio Liuzzi. He's claiming pole position, but he ends up slipping backwards on race day to finish down in 4th place, with the race win being taken by Nico Rosberg, getting his 3rd race victory of the season. Robert Kubica is making his 3rd consecutive podium as he finishes in 2nd place with the fastest lap, while we have Toro Rosso finishing on the podium with Sebastian Buemi getting his first podium in Formula 1 with a 3rd place finish. We now return to Europe for the European Grand Prix at Valencia in Spain. Felipe Massa got the first 2 pole positions of this season, and then he hasn't had another one after that until now, as he claims pole position for the European Grand Prix. It's a street circuit, not easy to overtake on. However, he does not convert it even into a podium. He ends up finishing the race down in P7, not at all what he would have been hoping for. Not the race he would have been hoping for, but it is exactly the race that Rubens Barrichello would have been hoping for, as he claims the race victory. He's getting Williams' first race victory since, what, 2004? I believe? He's ahead of a future Williams driver and Robert Kubica finishing in 2nd, while 3rd place is Adrian Sutil getting his 3rd place finish of the year. It's after Silverstone now for round 10, the place where it all began for Formula 1, and that means we've reached the point in the season where HRT start pissing about with their driver lineup. But away from that, the pole position in qualifying is going the way of Nico Rosberg. He's getting his 3rd pole position of the season. He'll be looking to turn into his 4th win of the season, and he does, claiming the race victory this time out to extend his chances in the championship and getting himself in a better position, especially since his main rivals of Felipe Massa and Robert Kubica failing to score, and Massa only finishing down in P10, while the podium is being rounded off by Rubens Barrichello getting a 2nd consecutive podium, and Kamui Kobayashi is putting Sauber on to the podium in P3. It's off to Germany now for the 11th race of the season. There'll be no Fernando is faster than you, quote unquote, not team orders that were actually team orders down at Ferrari, because Alonso ain't here, which means Massa's gonna have an easy run of it because Ferrari were quite good this weekend, with Massa claiming the pole position, the fastest lap, and the race victory to put himself into a good position to try and score some points back on his rivals, outscoring Nico Rosberg by 10 points as Rosberg finishes down in 3rd place, so with Robert Kubica in between them in 2nd place. The top 3 in the championship finishing in the top 3 positions in the race, and Massa scoring the most points of a lot of them. He'll be looking to do the exact same thing at Hungary, the following race for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and well, he does just that. He does better, actually. He claims pole position and race victory once again, but unlike the last 2 races, he actually completely outscores his rivals by 25 points, because neither of them scored points. They both failed to score. The podium at this race is being rounded off by Vitaly Petrov, and the man that I'm sure we've all been waiting to see on the podium in this video, given he's here racing in this season. Welcome back to the podium to Nico Hülkenberg. Come on, I know you were waiting for it. I know you were waiting to see the Hülkenberg podium. We cannot keep him off the podium in this bloody series. Anyway, Hülkenberg podiums aside, let's have another look at the championship standings, see how it's all shaping up. And Nico Rosberg, despite failing to score in the last race, he is still leading the championship by a bit of a comfortable margin. He has a 16-point lead. He's on 191 points to Robert Kubica in second on 175. So he has a good lead, 16 points. Kubica does not have as far to Felipe Massa, however, who is on 173 points. It is very close between those two. Massa claiming the victory. He'd fallen quite a ways down from the championship lead there, but now he has come roaring back up to it with those 2 race wins in a row, and his rival, of course, falling into some difficulties in Hungary is helping him out there. But there are ways ahead of Michael Schumacher in 4th place on 123 points, with the top 5 being rounded off by Rubens Barrichello on 110. It's 7 points further back to Adrian Sutil on 6th place on 103 points, while 7th place and 8th place are tied on 57 points apiece. Kamui Kobayashi and beat Antonio Liuzzi, but Kobayashi gets ahead on back of having had a podium, while the top 10 is being rounded off by Vitaly Petrov on 54 points, and then you have Sebastian Buemi on 47, who is tied with his teammate actually in 11th, but Buemi is ahead on back of having a podium. In the constructors, meanwhile, Mercedes have an even easier lead than they had before. 314 points for them to 229 for Renault. Mercedes are going to walk the Constructors' Championship, let's be real on that one. And in fact, Renault are kind of in a bit of no man's land because they have a bit of a gap to Ferrari on 173 points. Ferrari are not as comfortable though. They only have 13 points back to Force India on 160 points, while the top 5 is being rounded off by Williams on 152. So the battle for 3rd is kind of close right now. And the battle for 6th as well. 94 points for Toro Rosso, and then Sauber have scored a load of points. They're now on 85 points, while the bottom 3 teams are in the same order they were before, now on 6 points, 3 points, and 2 points. Oh, also remember to subscribe if you haven't already and you're enjoying the video and you fancy sticking around for more videos. I have an entire series of videos like this. Here's the list. I always show the list of the ones I've done in these videos. Here it is. I've got other content as well. Stick around for that. Drop a like if you're enjoying the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But now let's get back to it. We now move to the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. It's Robert Kubica coming out on top in qualifying with pole position that he doesn't let go of. He manages to take the race victory around one of Formula One's most loved circuits for his 3rd race victory of the season from pole. Fastest lap as well to boot. Not that you get a point for that yet, but it's nice to get it anyway. He's scoring maximum points to gain some good points in his championship fight against Felipe Massa, who finishes in 2nd place, and then the podium being rounded off by Adrian Sutil for Force India, ahead of Nico Rosberg. Rosberg losing a tiny bit of ground there to his rivals, but not that much. He'll be able to try and gain some ground again in the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, where Felipe Massa for Ferrari is going to be out to give the Tifosi something to celebrate. In real life, this race saw a Ferrari race win at the hands of Fernando Alonso, and it still sees a Ferrari race win at the hands of Felipe Massa from pole position. Massa coming out on top. He's given it to Tifosi something to celebrate. When it comes to race wins, not much can beat a Ferrari winning at Monza, as we've seen many times throughout Formula One history. This time no different. Massa taking the race victory ahead of Nico Rosberg in 2nd place, and then Nico Hülkenberg is returning to the podium for the 2nd time this season in P3. It's off to Singapore, where Sauber join HRT in pissing about with their driver lineup. And much like Monaco, this is a circuit where track position is important. You know, Singapore, you can overtake in Singapore, but it's still a street track, and street tracks are never the easiest places to overtake on. And Rubens Barrichello is putting himself into a great position to try and get a good result on race day by taking pole position. But of course, track position is one thing, but of course, to get the benefit of that track position, you also need to not put it in the wall. Barrichello doesn't exactly put it in the wall, but he does still end up being overtaken because he finishes in P2 behind Nico Rosberg, taking his, 5th race victory of the season. Rosberg has been so consistent this season. But so is Robert Kubica as he closes off the podium in P3. Now we're staying in Asia for the next race and heading off to Japan for the Japanese Grand Prix. This is a race where actually Mercedes can win the Constructors' Championship this time out. Coming into this race, they have a 96-point lead over their closest rivals, which is Renault. With 129 points left after this weekend, they need to outscore Renault by 34 points or more to claim the championship this weekend. Well, Renault are putting themselves in a good position to try and keep the championship fight alive in the Constructors to the next race, with Robert Kubica claiming pole position. However, it does not pan out for him in the races. He ends up retiring, and his teammate also fails to score. So Kubica's not gaining anything points in the Drivers' Championship, and he ain't gaining anything for Renault in the Constructors' Championship, who they gained nothing. However, it's not all bad, unless your Mercedes' hopes of winning the Constructors this time out, because Rosberg and Massa for Ferrari also failed to score, so the Drivers' Championship is staying stagnant. Mercedes do gain points, however, on Renault in the Constructors' Championship, with Michael Schumacher taking the race victory. He's not falling off the road like the other three I mentioned did, although just failing to score rather. He does score, he scores 25 points, but that's not enough for the championship to roll over, to win. It's going to roll over to the next race, with the podium being rounded off, by the way, by the two Saubers, Kamui Kobayashi claiming second place, delighting the Japanese fans with a Japanese driver on the podium, and then Nick Heidfeld, who's in his second race of the season after coming in at Sauber late on, he is in P3. That race win for Michael Schumacher means that the next race for the Korean Grand Prix, the first ever Korean Grand Prix that was held, Mercedes have a very good chance of wrapping up the championship this time out. With the gap at 121 points and 86 left after the race, they basically just need to not be majorly outscored by Renault. In qualifying, pole position goes the way of Nico Rosberg, who retired from this race in real life, but that retirement came the way of the Mark Webber, causing that one, and he ain't here, so where does he finish? Well, who knows? This was a bit of a wet race, a bit of a wild one. I'm gonna stick him P5 and be done with it. He could have been on the podium, he could have won, but I'm saying the race win goes the way of Felipe Massa for Ferrari. Rosberg's teammate Michael Schumacher taking P3 and Robert Kubica rounding out the podium. And with Petrol failing to score, then that means that Mercedes scoring 18 points and then another 10 points. That means that Mercedes are the Constructors' Champions this season. Now in the final two races, they can just focus solely on the Drivers' Championship. Again, on Drivers' Championship, Rosberg could have been on the podium. He could have won this race, but honestly, who knows? I never claimed this series to be any form of accurate, alright? I think we've all established that by now. Look, I'm putting Rosberg P5 and we're done with it. Which, on the Drivers' Championship, as we move ahead into the Brazilian Grand Prix, not Felipe Massa, Nico Rosberg can win the championship this time out. With 256 points to his name, he has a 3-point lead over Felipe Massa in second place, and then Robert Kubica is in third place on 242. 14 points, he is off the championship lead. 3 points, Massa is off the championship lead. Rosberg can win the championship if he wins the race, with Massa finishing P9 or lower and Kubica P4 or lower. Rosberg will be champion, Mercedes' first champion in the modern era. We'll have to see how it all works out in the race. In qualifying, it's actually Nico Hülkenberg taking the qualifying spoils. Of course, he got pole here in real life. He's still getting pole position this time out. However, he does end up still falling backwards during the race, but he doesn't fall back as far. He finishes in P3 in the end, so it's another podium for him this season. The man we cannot keep off the bloody podium in this series when he's racing. But he's not part of the championship fight. Nico Rosberg is, Felipe Massa is, and for Massa, his home race, he'll have been hoping to do something special. But his race and his championship chances come undone with a pit stop. Something goes wrong, he ends up having to make an additional pit stop. He finishes down in P10, which isn't enough given that the race victory goes the way of Nico Rosberg taking the race victory, taking the full 25 points, with Massa down in P10 and Kubica in P4. The conditions have been met and Nico Rosberg is your champion. With one race to go, he has a gap of 27 points to the remaining two, who are tie on points, but I'll touch on that in a minute. Nico Rosberg is champion. It's Mercedes 1-2 to round out the Brazilian Grand Prix. Both titles are wrapped up, and now it's just we have to look at other battles. And let's do just that. The Drivers' Championship is sorted, but the battle for second is raging on. Kubica and Massa are tie on points. It's anyone's game. It's basically back to zero for those two to see who can finish in second, who can be third. Will Renault come out on top, or will Ferrari actually pull out the bag and manage to finish second, keeping their crap together for longer than 5 minutes? I mean, given we're speaking about Ferrari when it's being run by the Italians. No offense to the Italians, of course. That's the main big battle going on in the Drivers' Championship. P4, P5, that is secure basically, with Schumacher on 206 points and Barrichello on 158. And Sutil and Kobayashi are also pretty secure on 134 and 99 respectively. Bottom end of the top 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are still battling it out. Nico Hülkenberg in 8th place on 82 points. To 9th place, Vito Antonio Liuzzi, 77 points. Then there's 69 points going with Sebastian Buemi, and a tie between Petrov and Alguersuari on 68 points apiece. Anything can change there. It's what, 14 points between Petrov and Hülkenberg and Alguersuari. Who will be the last 3 people in the top 10? Who's going to be bumped out into the first places outside the top 10? We'll have to wait and see. There's still the Drivers' Championship is wrapped up, but there's still some interesting battles going on. Constructors, similar story. Constructors is wrapped up, 487 points for Mercedes. Renault also secure in second, 322 points. But Ferrari are not yet secure in third place. They have 14 points back to Williams in P4, 254 plays 240. Can Ferrari keep their crap together and hold on, or will Williams get them? They've been quite good at some races. Can they be good in Abu Dhabi? We'll wait and see. Force India are secure in 5th place on 211 points. However, Toro Rosso and Sauber are not secure. Sauber 149 points, only 12 points back to Toro Rosso on 137. Again, these are teams that they can have strong weekends. They can just have a really great weekend out of nowhere. Both of these teams have scored podiums this season, at least one each. It's anyone's game really, in the battle for 3rd, in the battle for 6th, but the bottom places probably won't be changing. It's Lotus on 16, Virgin on 5, and then Hispania on 3. But now into the final race of the season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix qualifying. Pole position is going the way of Felipe Massa, which is going to be great for him to try and finish 2nd in the championship, score more points than Kubica. He'll be hoping that Ferrari can, keep it together in the race and not pull a stupid strategy. However, in the race, Felipe finds himself not stuck behind a Renault, like Alonso did in real life. However, he finds himself stuck behind the Toro Rosso of Jaime Alguersuari, who finishes ahead of him in P4, while Massa had to claim P5. Now, that would still be enough for him to claim second in the championship, just so long as Kubica doesn't score more points than him. Kubica finishes in 2nd place, however, so that is all null and void. Robert Kubica coming in 2nd place behind Nico Rosberg, winning the last race of the season to cap off what has been a brilliant season for him. And Kubica's getting 2nd place. Renault are playing the smart card. Ferrari screwed it up at the last. But Petrov, the man who held up a Ferrari in real life, he is finishing in 3rd place, rounding off the podium. In the battle at the bottom of the top 10 in the Hulkenberg, Petrov, Alguersuari, Liuzzi, Buemi battle that's been going on down there, Petrov's podium actually means that he manages to jump Hulkenberg and finish in 8th place in the Drivers' Championship by just 1 point, with Hulkenberg failing to score, and Alguersuari's points as well means that he manages to leap up into the last place of the top 10. Now let's have one final run through the Drivers' Championship to see how it all shaped up. Nico Rosberg is your champion, 306 points for him to Robert Kubica on 2nd place, getting it at the last on 272, while Felipe Massa has to sell for 3rd place on 264. Michael Schumacher is in 4th place on 206 points, while Barrichello is rounding at the top 10 for Schumacher's former teammate on 164 points. Schumacher's in a former teammate sandwich there. Sutil is in 6th place on 138 points, while Kobayashi has to sell for 7th place on 101 points, while Vitaly Petrov managed to get P8 at the line and is on 83 points to Hulkenberg on 82, and then Jaime Alguersuari is rounding out the top 10 on 80 points. Vito Antonio Liuzzi is the first driver outside the top 10 on 77 points, while Sebastian Buemi is on 70 points in 12th place. 13th place you'll find Pedro De La Rosa on 31 points. He left earlier in the season, was replaced by Nick Heidfeld, who's on 27 points. 12 points are going the way of Heikki Kovalainen. He is the highest of the bottom teams. While Jarno Trulli, his teammate, scored 4 points. Lucas de Grassi and Kroon Chandok both took 3 points apiece in 17th and 18th for Virgin and HRT respectively. And then Timo Glock is the final of the point scorers on 2 points in 19th, because Bruno Senna, Sakon Yamamoto and Christian Klein all failed to score. And I'm pretty sure I butchered the pronunciation of Yamamoto. And then finally, the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes are champions on 512 points. They dominated the Constructors' Championship this year, much like we got used to in the 2010s, really. They started early this time. They're winning the Constructors ahead of Renault in 2nd place on 355, their highest Constructors spots for a while. Ferrari do manage to just hold on to 3rd with those 10 points for Felipe Massa scoring in the last race. They're on 264 points. They are, some amount of points ahead of Williams in 4th place on 246 points. The top 5 rounded off by still Force India on 215. 159 points is where you're going to find Sauber, but they managed to hold on ahead of Toro Rosso. Despite Toro Rosso having a good result with Jaime Alguersuari in the last race, they have to sell over 150 points in 7th place, while the bottom 3 teams are still the same. 16 points for Lotus, 5 for Virgin, and then 3 for Hispania. And finally, here's your end of season stats. We had 5 different race winners this season. Nico Rosberg claimed 7 wins across the season. The missed of anybody. The next closest was Felipe Massa with 5 wins across this season. 3 wins were taken by Robert Kubica and then 3 by Michael Schumacher, while 1 win was taken by Schumi's former teammate Rubens Barrichello. In terms of podium sitters, we had a leaf in different podium sitters, with the missed podiums being taken by the champion driver Nico Rosberg. He stood on the podium 13 times, 1 more time than Robert Kubica, who claimed 12 podiums. podiums. 9 podiums were taken by Felipe Massa, while Michael Schumacher saw the podium 6 times across the season, and Adrian Sutil 4 times. 3 podiums apiece went the way of Rubens Barrichello, Vitaly Petrov, and Nico Hülkenberg, while 2 podiums were taken by Kamui Kobayashi, while Sebastian Buemi and Nick Heidfeld each saw the podium once. We had 7 different pole sisters this season, with Massa taking the most poles across the season. He was the pole position winner this year with 7 pole positions, while 3 poles each were taken by Robert Kubica, Nico Rosberg, and Michael Schumacher, while 1 pole was taken by Rubens Barrichello, 1 by Nico Hülkenberg, and then 1 by Liuzzi. And then finally, fastest laps. Once again, I'm remembering about the fastest laps for the second one of these in a row. We had 9 different drivers setting a fastest lap this year, with the quickest one being Nico Rosberg. He's proved himself the quickest driver over a lap in a race this year by taking 6 fastest lap awards across the year. Robert Kubica claimed 4 fastest laps this season, while Felipe Massa saw the fastest lap 3 times, and then 1 fastest lap was taken by Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, Adrian Sutil, Vitaly Petrov, Jaime Alguersuari, and Sebastian Buemi. And with that, 2010 without the in real life top 5, that being Sebastian Vettel, that was about to say Michael Schumacher. Let's try that again, shall we? Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, Lewis Hamilton, and Jenson Button. I got there in the end. This video's at its end. I finally circled back around to 2010. I was gonna get to it eventually. I just needed a little bit more time to get to it because there was so many drivers in the championship fight, and you know, as I said earlier, scrolling back through old comments, saw this one. I was like, screw it. Let's do this and see what happens. And it wasn't all that bad. As ever, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.